Pre-wetted de-icing salt is being used more and more commonly in recent years for a variety of reasons. One of which is that pre-wetted salt appears to perform better at colder temperatures than dry salt does. This naturally raises the question of how much better does it work? What is the lowest effective de-icing temperature of pre-wetted de-icing salt? Well, it's unfortunately difficult to give you a precise answer to that question, because at the moment we don't have a standard industry definition of what we mean by lowest effective de-icing temperature. So in order to give you the best answer to this question that I can, let me give you some background information so we can better understand how temperature affects the performance of de-icers in general and pre-wetted salt in particular. For openers, let me show you how temperature does not affect de-icers. The graph that you're looking at right now shows you an illustration of how you might expect lowest effective temperature to work. This shows you the ice melting of a hypothetical imaginary de-icer. And as we're going from right to left on the graph, we are measuring ice melting at lower temperatures. And in this imaginary de-icer, note that we're seeing very steady ice melting until we hit a critical cutoff temperature of about 13 degrees Fahrenheit, where the ice melting falls off a cliff and it drops to zero. Now, it would be nice if de-icers behaved this way, because it would make it very easy to pinpoint an obvious critical cutoff temperature where the de-icer lost its effectiveness. But in real life, de-icers are not that simple. Let me show you how real de-icers actually behave. This graph shows you real ice melting data on some common de-icers. The blue line shows you ice melting from plain rock salt or sodium chloride. The red line shows you calcium chloride. And what we're looking at is ice melting measured after 60 minutes at temperatures that are getting lower as we go from right to left across the graph. The first thing I want you to notice is that there's no obvious cutoff temperature. There's no obvious temperature where the de-icer, where it goes from melting a great deal of ice to suddenly dropping to zero. Instead, what we see is there's a gradual decrease in ice melting as the temperature gets lower. So if we want to identify a lowest effective de-icing temperature from data like this, we would first have to know how much melting is needed. That is, how far up on that curve do we have to go before we've got enough melt for the de-icer to be quote-unquote effective. Well, there's no industry agreement about that right now. So estimates of lowest effective temperature are generally qualitative estimates based on field experience, and they can vary by as much as plus or minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit or even more. If you have more questions, please let me know.